going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV, where we have Sean Jones here. He is a channeler, and this is definitely going to be an interesting episode. And since he is a channeler, it is up to you to decide if Sean is speaking or Spirit is speaking through him. So I need you to decide that for us, because this is going to be so full of fire and golden nuggets. So Sean, what do you have to say to the Positivity Posse before we start?
This is time to heal thy mind and heal thyself. And I'm ready to go. Ready to roll.
Let's get it. Let's get it. All right. Thank you, guys. If you're watching this live or on the replay, make sure you leave a like, share, comment, do whatever you got to do to raise that vibration. And we're going to dive right into it today. Let's go.
Hi, everyone. Jeanette Ramos here, CEO and President of It Takes a Village Housing. It Takes a Village Housing is a nonprofit organization that houses women who have been affected by drug and alcohol use while having their children live in transitional housing. Services to include drug treatment, mentoring, counseling for the kids, parenting. We set them up with employment. We help them get everything that they need to get them out into the community. Go to our website, ittakesavillage1.org, and donate. Donate whatever your heart desires, and let's change families one at a time.
Everybody, it is your boy Dano here, bringing you another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV, where you're gonna find the most fire content on the internet. And I don't care, I'll go up against Joe Rogan, I'll go up against any of those big names, because here we talk about that real talk, about that stuff that people are going through on the everyday basis. Some of the lessons and the journeys and blessings that all of these people come on to talk about, including myself, from the Positivity Posse to the guests to myself. Man, it is all great vibes and great content that we always bring week in and week out. So thank you for being here for today. We have Sean Jones. Man, let me tell you, Sean is chock full of knowledge, and I'm telling you, we are in for a good one for today, man. We got the golden nuggets. They're going to be coming in and out, so make sure you got your pens, make sure you got your notepads, whatever you need to, really digest all of this information, because it does really go deep. So we have the two things that we have to do before we bring Sean on, as y'all already know. Actually, no, we got to do three things. What am I talking about? Number one, if you're watching this right now, drop a hashtag positivity posse. So I know that you guys are rocking with me, that you're pouring into the good energy for the show, that we're raising our vibrations and our moods and whatever we got to do to make sure that we are at that optimum level. So drop that for me. So, and you guys always beat me to it before I even say it. And that's why you guys are the best, man. My positivity posse, you guys are absolutely amazing. Right here, David Bardeman, positivity posse, Jeanette Ramos, hashtag positivity posse. You guys are amazing. So, and thank you so much for being here too while you're live. So, look at that. It's man, I just have so much energy for today. All right. So, number one, what we got to do is the affirmations for happiness. I'm going to read just a quick page off of here so I can help you guys out. Maybe, change your frame of mind, or maybe for me, but I firmly believe that every time I open this book to a random page, it always helps somebody that needs to hear it. So here we go. Let's see. Random page. Boom. All right. 94 or 95. Let's see. This is perfect. All right, number 95. This is perfect. Perfect. I see Sean laughing in the background because watch, when I say what it is, watch. This is going to be like the essence of what the episode is about for today. All right, so 95. I am the observer of my inner world. See, look, I see him laughing. Yeah, he's nodding his head. I am the observer of my inner world. I'm curious about what's going on inside me. Instead of judging myself for how I feel, I choose to use compassionate inquiry from now on. Why am I feeling this way? How am I doing right now? What do I need in this moment to be happy? So that is just the thought for today. Page 95, I'm the observer of my inner world. And I'm telling you guys, this is what we're going to be talking about today. And it always, always, always relates to the episode. So Sean is going to come on and really help us understand what's going on in our inner worlds, how to evaluate it, and what does it all mean, or why is it worth doing? So before we bring Sean on, we have one more thing that we have to do. We have to do the On the Street segment for this week. Man, I'm just so excited to be able to bring this to you guys. I want to pick one that we've done before that we kind of maybe forgot about. So I was looking at one. All right, let's do the first one that we've ever done before, just to see what the just to see like how far we've grown with the street segments, and let me know what you guys think about it. So here we go. Here's the first one that we've ever done before here on the Weekly Dose of Dano segment. What's going on, everybody? This is Dano, television show host of Weekly Dose of Dano TV, and today we're in the streets of Philly asking everybody the questions that you need the answer to. Let's get it. Do you think that money can buy happiness?
Maybe.
Maybe?
No.
Why? Why not?
'Cause you can have a mommy or a daddy, and love is happiness.
Love is happiness. That's what I'm talking about. What are some of the things that make you happy?
My dog, but he died. And my family, and all my stuffed animals.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and happy birthday. If you're watching this right now, what's your name?
Vesna.
Vesna, please wish Vesna a happy birthday. Do you believe that money can buy happiness?
No.
And why is that?
I've had it.
You've had it? And then what does it bring you? For somebody that doesn't have it, that's watching this right now.
I mean, it brings joy, but it brings a lot of responsibilities and trouble.
A lot of trouble, too, if you spend it wrong.
Yep.
What are some of the things that make you happy?
Right here, sitting in a park, listening to music, smoking a cigarette, which I'm not allowed to do unless I watch out for a cop.
You'll be all right. Nobody's going to tell.
Yeah, the cops will come around. They come around, tell you to put your speaker out.
Oh, man.
They're called the happy police.
The happy police.
Right.
They're the opposite of what we're doing right
Anytime
here.
you're having happiness, they'll come around.
Oh, man. That's terrible.
You don't think that's true, do you?
I believe it.
Okay.
Do you believe that money buys happiness?
Not necessarily, but it certainly doesn't hurt.
Okay. So in what way, like how far can money take you when it comes to happiness?
Like if you're financially stable, you can pursue a job opportunity or work that really feels fulfilling, versus if you're constantly thinking about where your next meal comes from, you don't have the luxury to decide where you're working or what you want to do. Something that really brings me happiness is working for my camp and being able to be a mentor to others and, creative programming.
Okay. And what about mentoring that gives you that spark?
Yeah, it's about being able to share what I've experienced and help people through their own problems to hopefully have a better experience or really be able to pursue and find their own happiness. That's about spreading the joy.
Do you believe that money can buy happiness?
I don't think so. I mean, it can make you feel comfortable, but I don't think it can directly buy you happiness.
What makes you happy?
I would say like long-lasting relationship with someone you can trust.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be a lot, but as long as you have those kind of core people in your life that'll be there for you, I would say that's really key.
Yo, it is crazy just to see how far we've come just with all the street segments as well. Because I remember before, like that one just looks totally different from the most recent one that I've done. It's just night and day really with the comparison. Because now I've been exploring and figuring out like lighting and sounds and different background music. And, you know, we had the different, we had like to break up the segments. We have the, you know, the transitional videos of doing the clips, man. It's just, wow, wow, wow. It's absolutely crazy, absolutely amazing. Thank you guys for still dropping this hashtag positivity posse. Like I said, you guys are amazing. So it's time to bring Sean onto the show. And man, I hope you guys are ready for what's about to come because this is about to be some super hot fire right here. And it is time to bring Sean onto the show. Sean, what are you doing, man? Stop meditating. It's time to get on the show. Sean, how's it going?
What's up, fam?
Man.
Good to be here.
Oh, thank you for being here, man. I know you're about to drop some fire for us today. Man, so what did you think about that affirmation being about our inner world and how that's, you know, everything that you talk about? Talk about that correlation.
Yeah, that's a good question to ask the self. What is the inner world? What is your inner world? What does that look like? Right? And where does it come from?
Yeah, definitely. I was watching a video with Osho, I believe his name is, and he was talking about, you know, like diving in because there was a lady that had a question for him and she said, okay, like, how do we dive into our inner selves and what is our inner selves? Because she had like struggles and problems trying to do it. And he was like, oh, well, what is the inner world? Kind of like the, you know, asking the abstract questions. And
right.
You know, I believe that, you know, everything that happens in our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. So we can go in and clean everything up. Everything on the outside will clean up as well. Now, here's a question that it may be like, it's a little abstract, but not really, because believe me, like, I want to know things that I can do like tomorrow in order to, you know, make everything okay or in a better state than what it is, right? So let's say if we are aware of our inner world, and we know about all the thoughts that are going on, whether they're good, bad, or neutral, and everything in between. What is the importance or what's the value of the process of knowing? Like, what does that get us if we're aware of our thoughts?
Well, knowing the inner world is beyond the mind, is beyond thinking. So the outer world, I would say, is just an illusion, you know, our own perception of what, you know, the material world is, or even a person, because we're looking at the body, the form, instead of the spirit, right? We're looking at the shape, how it looks, whether we think it's pretty or ugly or black or white. That's all a perception and judgment, you know, which goes through conditioning, which has nothing to do with our inner world. You know, inner world is the space, you know, not from the mind, but, you know, within our hearts. It has nothing to do with thinking, but more being. So the inner world is the essence of the soul. So it's like going inward to experience nothing, right? And that inner wisdom, and to be able to go from the inner world to be able to speak out into the outer world from a higher place. So the inner world is definitely, it's beyond the mind. It's beyond, has nothing to do with thinking. It has nothing to do with your past experiences or your identification of self. It's just space. It's just peace. It's just love.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's been one of the things that I've been trying to achieve more with my meditations. Like I meditate every day, and it was actually yesterday. You know, I've had a lot of practice with it. I've been doing it every day for about, I don't know, maybe a year now. And it was only recently, you know, it was like yesterday, 2 days ago, where I was in the meditation and it was only the voice of the guided meditation talking. And
Mhm.
I felt this like peace or this gratitude at the center of my head, right? It was right here at the top. And then I was focusing on that feeling. And, the day that I had yesterday was absolutely amazing. But I think it was stemmed from recognizing what goes on in our inner world. And I know that for you, a big message for you right here is that you want people to understand that they're beyond their minds, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So why do you want everybody in the world to know that they're more than their mind?
Because the mind is just ultimately illusion. I mean, we're all in the matrix. Thinking to me is not real. It's just, and we're never, anything that comes up in our mind is just a perception of the ideas of through our conditioning, through our past. So if thinking was real, then it would always stay with us, but it's just kind of like we say a passing cloud. So we can go from thinking, right, which would be outer mind, right, projecting to back to our peace, to our inner world, right? So that we know the difference. And we're at peace, we're in the flow state, right? We can come into a higher state from our higher mind versus our thinking mind by worrying about the past or worrying about the future. So coming back into the inner world of self, right, into the breath, gives us that peace, that grounding space to know what's real and what's an illusion.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you've been helping me out with, because if you guys don't already know, Sean's been helping me out to try to achieve, what it is that I need to achieve in order to reach that higher level of myself and to be what we were put on this earth to be. Now, Sean, there was Sean, are you familiar with Buddhism?
Yes, very, very
All right.
much so.
So Christopher had a question what you were talking about earlier. So basically akin to Advaita Vedanta philosophy.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I mean, I don't like any identifications, but I grew up Christian and then studied Buddhism. So I wouldn't be able to go into higher states of consciousness and meditation and channel if I never had connected with the Buddha.
Oh.
So sometimes Buddhist, traditions and philosophies, they don't do the channeling or believe in angels or anything like that. So I'm a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And I also have a Buddha tattoo on my arm.
That's heat. That's fire. I like it.
Of the Buddha.
I want to correct it. I guess it wasn't Buddhist. It was Hinduism, actually. So thank you, Christopher, because, man, Christopher's always dropping them. His mind is absolutely amazing as well. So, Sean, when we were talking before, you have a method that you like to teach everybody, and, when they're starting to think down a bad path. And I think everybody could really use this practice, whether they're novices or whether they're experts, because this is kind of like the secret recipe in order to stop where you are to be and to just clear your mind. And it is pause, breathe, and be. Can you talk about how you came up with this recipe or these steps in order to just wipe everything, wipe the slate clean?
Yeah, one of the teachers, Eckhart Tolle, everybody's heard of him. He's amazing, one of the best spiritual teachers out there now. And this method, the three pause, breathe, and be, gets you in that state of, again, the lower mind, which I call the thinking mind, out of our body, and more into that place of peace, right? So sometimes people like to say stop, but I think saying stop, breathe, be is a little abrupt. So pause seems very calm, just to pause, just to be in the moment, the present moment, right? Mm-hmm. And then bring the breath back in from thinking back to the inner body, right? Mm-hmm. And then to be in the presence of now, right? And so sticking with the breath, right, and sticking in the present moment, it brings you that peace. It brings you joy. You're not stressed or worried about the past or the future. Because you find out in that moment, right, that these thoughts have no meaning.
And that was one of the things that I had a little bit of trouble wrapping my mind about, is what you just said about thoughts have no meaning. And I was like, wait, but don't thoughts emit vibrations? And then, I thought they do have meaning. Can you dive a little bit more into why thoughts don't have meaning?
I mean, thoughts have meaning because you give them the meaning that they are, the meaning that you give it, right? So it's a yes and it's a no. So this more the exercises that I do in mindfulness, this is like more the negative state of the lower mind when it brings you out of the state of love, right? So we can use our mind to manifest things we want and create a reality in our imagination, which is beautiful. But when we're getting into like fear and the separate self, we want to come back into a state of the present moment, and understanding that using the breath can dissolve the thoughts or dissolve the feelings that come up within our mind and our body. Right? I got to embrace the feelings. There's nothing wrong with feelings. Feelings, again, come, feelings go. But if we connect the thinking with the emotions, that's what makes us go down that rabbit hole, and we're not in the present moment, right? We're attached to the story that, creates that sense of fear. So we want to get out of that space.
Yeah, and now when we want to get out of this space, there's two different ideologies that I think people, want to strive towards, and I want to know your opinion on this. So what's the main goal that we're trying to achieve? Are we trying to achieve like positivity, or are we trying to achieve like that peace or neutrality?
Just our state of being. It's really understanding the state of being. The self has nothing to do with thinking, your past, your future. Our essence is only here and now. Reality itself is just here. When you take a conscious breath to breathe in and then exhale, that's reality itself.
Okay. Wow. And like I was saying, I hope you guys can try to follow, because like the stuff that Sean talks about, man, this has been, cultivation and just really working on it over years and years of time. And Sean, I want to talk, take it back a little bit and talk about, when did you begin to know, like, that source is real and that mindfulness is the real deal, and that's what we should be working on?
So my story, because I could write a book on my spiritual journey. So when I grew up, I went through a really tough childhood, and I went through mental, physical, and even actually sexual abuse at a very young age. And I got into drugs and got in a really dark place at a time. And so reaching out at a time, I had a close relationship, I thought, with Source, with God, and I wanted to change my ways. So basically on this night that I had this, I would say a spiritual experience or a spiritual awakening, that I knew that spirit was real. After being, like I said, a drug addict and addicted to drugs, I cried out to God, and I felt basically this energy, this force of love that went through my whole body. And then I knew nothing about the third eye or anything like that. And I saw this light in between my eyebrows. And then I heard this inner voice said, "Sean, you're a healer, follow me." And then after that one moment, everything went away. My addiction went away. I knew exactly what I was called to do. And in that moment, my life totally changed. And also in that moment, I vowed a state of celibacy and just sticking to meditation for a year and a half. I mean, I literally no friends, hardly family. And I just went quiet. I was like, who is Sean? Mm-hmm. Like, who is Sean? Who is really Sean? It's not this person, this idea of self. All these stories I had, and even what I went through had a reason. Mm-hmm. And we can talk even another time through even past life. So yes. I've had experience with past life, why I went through a lot of my karma through previous lives, why I went through. But it brought me to the place I am now. So I use my pain. We got to use our pain for purpose. It's not just there, because we're good people and bad things happen to us. There's a lot of people in the world that need other people's help, that have decided to not be a victim and take control of their lives and step into their power to be a beacon of light. So it really is a gift, our struggles and the things that have happened in our past. And I'm just one of those beacons of light that's just not going to let it hold me down. And, I not even only having the past, school wasn't much my thing. I educated myself now, but it was something going through mental abuse. I never thought I was good enough. So instead of being like, oh, that's just me, just can't read, I can't write, I just forced myself and gave my life to God. And since then, everything has changed. And I try to mentor people and bring them down the road that if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah, and I firmly believe that too, because I think about my own life and some of the things that I've had to overcome. I don't want to get too, because there's a long list of it, as I'm sure everybody has. But it's just so powerful because you know that you've done it, you've experienced everything that you do experience, and you went past it. Now
Mhm.
it's just so, I don't know, like comforting, or just knowing that anybody can do it. You just got to take the time in order to do it, make a conscious effort. And if everybody were to do that, we can all live the lives that we really are meant to live. And I know it may sound cliche or just say, oh, that's just positive talk. No, it really is true. Like all the things that I manifested into my life is because I made the conscious effort to, go through what it is that I didn't want, which isn't the bad thing. Just because you go through a dark place doesn't necessarily make it bad, because I believe it has that contrast. You need to go through those things to understand what it is that you do want. And man, like, looking at all the things of, when I found out about the law of attraction and vibrations and all of this mindfulness or the spiritual side of everything, now it's just like, wow, things are just pouring in. And, you get to have moments of happiness long spans of happiness every day, and you can really milk it to bring more things and to relish in these positive vibrations to bring more of it into their life. So like I said, if I can do it and Sean can do it, anybody can do it. And Sean,
Yeah.
I want you to talk about, there was a story that we were walking in Philly. We were going by that mural. I always remember, I actually walked by it the other day.
Yeah.
And when you were telling the story about your dad. And I know that you're very transparent and that you'll be willing to tell this story, but a lot of people, I think, kind of have problems inside of their home and they might not know how to deal with it. And for you, it was a very severe problem. And the ending to this story was a little bit different than what most people and the route they would have taken. So can you talk about that story about, your dad and how you made amends?
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So we're going to talk about the past life. So, yeah, I had a series of events that happened, which I can talk about it on another program. But this one particular that Dano was talking about, that was so powerful. And so basically, when one of my mentors that I had met up for sushi in this restaurant, and I basically was kind of, this is in the beginning when I first met him, and I was telling the story of Sean, the poor me, abused kid, mentally, emotionally abused, and he said, and like I said, my mentor also was he was a channel and an amazing relationship a teacher, and he said, brother, you know what you did in your past life as a warrior? I said, you've abused, raped, stole children, all this, and all of a sudden it felt like something out of a movie. It was like I was looking at him talking, and all of a sudden this like God just turned me. I closed my eyes, and then I was there. It was the movie 300, and I was like going fast and then slow, where I was killing people and hearing the voices screaming and dead bodies everywhere. And this warrior came at me, and I end up cutting his head off, and I opened my eyes and went to throw the whole table in the restaurant, and my mentor had to jump across the table to hold the table down, and he said, see, do you understand now? And it just blew me away. I mean, I had adrenaline going through my body. It wasn't like a healing session. This was like normal, daylight. So that was just a really powerful experience. So he says to me, where it gets deep, and it was very difficult. It took me about a month, I think it was. He said, I want you to go to your stepdad and thank him for abusing you and giving you the lessons that you need so that you can break this karma tie. Right. And so I was like, wow, that was really a lot, because it's like, what did I really learn? Because I feel like the type of personality and where I was going, the type of path I was going on, and it just was really dark. So I felt like I had to go really dark to really find we all have to sometimes go that deep, that dark, through a dark night of the soul to like really wake up. So I went to my stepfather. He was working in the shed, and I was like, hey, I have to share something with you. And I told him what happened. He was just like, it's like, all right, this is a little weird. But all of a sudden, I said to him, I said, I really appreciate all that you've done for my mom and I, and you did the best that you could. I had this experience where I know through the abuse, I said this was some lessons that I had to learn Not that necessarily that it's right, but it's what I need to become the man that I am. And I thank you. And through that, I gave him a hug, and this love, like this energy exchange happened. I had goosebumps. He was crying. And then it just, everything shifted in that moment many years ago. And I'm so blessed that, you know, might not people hearing this might not know that or believe the extent of it. But for me, it really shifted and healed our relationship. So it's something to think about. You know, when people go through tough times, there's always a reason and a lesson in how you could look at the bright side. What can I learn so that I can use these painful, challenging experiences to help others, you know, to not be a victim, to own what you've gone through, and what can I do to heal myself? Because the healing process is really about waking up. Because if you just thought that's how your life is by kind of just cruising through life, that's not really living.
Yeah.
And you're able to help many people because you're in your own world.
Yeah.
Me, myself, and I. It's not about, a lot of times because you've been gone through abuse of some sort, that you want to be a beacon of light. You want to help others because there's a lot of people in pain, and there's plenty of people, whether you're spiritual or religious, that like to help people. So this is a gift. You know, our pain in our life is really a gift to bring us back to heal ourselves, mind, body, and spirit, so that we can serve humanity.
Yeah, and you know, I think you kind of we had a question here, but I think you kind of answered it. But if you want to do like a quick recap to answer this, here's the question: what advice would you give to people who don't understand this phenomenon that you had and may not believe you? And I know that where you know, I just want to say in there, he's not sharing this story to make people believe him or not. You know, that's not what the purpose is. But you know, so like, what's the first half? What advice would you give to these people who doesn't understand these phenomenons? Like, let's say if they had something that happened to them, it might have been yesterday, last week, whatever, or something. How are they able to understand the significance of their phenomenon that they may have experienced?
So you can just, so I would ask, as being a client or a student, how does it feel by holding on? How does it feel by judging this person? For every time we judge this person, we feel the energy from our thoughts because we believe the thoughts and emotions that arise, and we can never sever that energy between whoever abused us in any way. So into moving on, it's not about forgetting the situations that happen. It's about forgiveness and healing from within, not letting it take us over. Because we got to something that also can share is that every trauma that happens in our life, it's all energy because we believe that experience. So it crystallizes in our energy field. So if we don't move into that traumatic experience and to feel it and to release it and to forgive others, whoever hurt us, it stays with us in our adult life and stays in our subconscious mind, which plays out into every relationship that we have. So why would we want to hold on to this pain? Why would we want to hold on to this darkness that holds us down, holds us back, and we can't be free from it? You know, and to use to have someone understand, to heal yourself, to be free, and to help others in need that are going through the same thing.
100%. And I think that, you know, that's why I brought up that story, is because when I heard it, I was like, wow, this is so powerful. A lot of people need to hear, you know, this experience. And, you know, maybe if they can apply that to their own life, they can break that chain of thinking that, you know, their fear is too much, and that, let's say if there was somebody that abused them, that they think that everybody is that way, or somebody took advantage of them, they think that everybody's that way. And then they kind of had this distorted view on life. And I'm not saying, you know, obviously that's their experience and they're welcome and entitled to feel that they 1000%. But in order to level up and to let go, that's when we can really find who we are within ourselves, because you don't want to identify or, you know, just say, oh, well, I'm a victim, because if you have that in, you know, for the rest of your life, that's all you're gonna say, you know, Sean Jones is, or whoever's watching this right now. And it's all about, you know, breaking free from everything that's happened into this, you know, physical world, because I feel like we've come here on this earth for a reason, for the soul mastery. And like I said, this is my opinions, and everybody's entitled to think what they want. But in order to level to that next step and get to that next step of soul mastery, these things have to happen to us in order, like you said, to be the beacon of the light and to help other people understand why it may have happened to them.
Yeah, it's like the question is for yourself: do you want to hold on to the illusion and how your ego gives you this power of resentment over this person, or do you want to be free?
Mm-hmm.
But most people don't know what freedom is because they're being ran by their mind. They're being ran by their ego.
Mm-hmm.
Their trauma is the illusion of power over another, that you did this to me, but you're really projecting your pain and anger. And what's beyond our pain and anger? Sadness.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we want to go down that rabbit hole? Why don't we just be free now? Just accept and love and look at everybody's human, even looking at whoever's hurt me in the past. They're human. They made a mistake. No one's perfect, but I'd rather be free from it and move on in the now, right? Than hold on to the past. It's not even real anymore.
Yeah. And
the youth is over. It's happened. So
yeah,
going like over and over. How many therapists are we going to see until we keep, holding on to the same story?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think there was, I wish I could remember it verbatim, but I saw a quote by Neville Goddard and it, I don't remember it verbatim. So it was around the lines of, okay, you got hurt and then the scar healed up. But the more that you talk about that story and relive that story in your life and your everyday life and you carry it for so long, every time you revisit that experience, story, or whatever it may have been, all you're doing is cutting that wound right back open. So you're experiencing the same thing that you experienced at that present moment. So it's very, very important to let go. And, let's see, man, look, you're blowing up the comments right here. Here it is. Sonny by Cleveland. Hey, he is doing great things. Nice to see you, Sonny. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Oh, there you go. So there's Sonny's plug right there. The past isn't real. It's gone. Yes, live in the now. So we got to take a quick commercial break, Sean, and we're going to come back to talk about, some more of the healing, some more of reaching into our inner selves and, decluttering the mind and all of this great stuff as well. If you're watching this, please share this to whatever, share it to Facebook, share it to your Instagram, YouTube, no matter where it is, just share it, raise that vibration, and you never know who you might be helping in these situations as well. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Except I received this insight about a title called Prisoner of War. The book
everybody. That was just a quick word from our sponsors. Thank you from our sponsors for sponsoring the Weekly Dose of Dano platform. If you are interested in sponsoring the Weekly Dose of Dano platform, send me an email. We could talk about some packages and different strategies that we can do in order to expand your business and to get your messaging out there to reach as many people as possible. So while doing it in a positive, fun, energetic, amazing, whatever positive words you want to use to describe it way. So now let's get back to Sean's ideas, stories, journeys, everything that he has to share with us for today. Sean, I'm going to say it again. Thank you so much for being here, man, and sharing an hour of your time and being transparent to help be a beacon of light into this world. So, Sean, as far as mindset and thinking, right, we had this discussion, and it was about this specifically, but I'm going to make it about it specifically with this question. So, as far as thinking and everything that goes on in the mind, powerful question. What is the reason for suffering?
I mean, suffering is the lesson, I feel, my own opinion, that brings us back to self, right? Which I call the higher self, that is within the heart, within that space where Holy Spirit, God, whatever word you would like to use. That's what I feel. I feel like a lot of times we heard, like, used to say, I know I did from doing drugs when I was younger. It was like, God, I'll never do that again, because we've all done it. Like, it's because I was suffering. It doesn't have to be drugs. It could be anything that we feel separate from ourselves. Even abuse. God, please help me. The pain brings us where? The pain brings us back. Because we know God is within us, so that's where that's the lessons that I feel this brings us back home.
Yeah, and I think 1000% brings us back home. And when we're in that misalignment too, we kind of make decisions that may not be in our greatest good or for our greatest good. But I remember you saying specifically that if we trace everything back to thinking and thoughts, is that every thought that we tell ourselves comes with a story that's attached to it. And whether the story is good or bad, I feel like it's very important to, be that observer. I'm going to bring it back to what we were talking about, to be that observer, to really see, okay, how can I make the changes in our lives to make sure that we're experiencing everything that we need to experience? Because think about it. If there was a quote that I heard before, it was like 2 days ago, I think. If nothing changes, nothing changes, right? I know it sounds simple, but it's really paying attention to what we do in our everyday routines and some of the things that we do that we may be mindful of or not mindful of. But the point is, we need to start observing what we do. Like, maybe a time audit. Like, think about some of the things or write down some of the things that you do on a daily basis, so that if you're not experiencing the results that you can be experiencing, then you can start to make the changes in order to make that happen. And that's just for the physical time too. And there's always that inner world. Try to just be mindful, like write down the dreams that we may be having, or, catch ourselves in that moment to pause, breathe, and be, right? So now, Sean, I want you to talk about some of the strategy. Like, what do you do on a day-to-day to make sure that you're setting yourself up successfully for the day? So, talk about your morning routines.
So I do wake up really early. I get maybe like a half-hour meditation, but as soon as I get home, I do at least an hour of meditation in silence. No music. I know people like to use music, but I think it's like conditioning. It's like working out, right? Because we're thinking all day, and then we come home and still we get distracted even by music, even though it's very calming. But I think I can be in this place of meditation and union with spirit, with God. And I give that time after work just to recenter myself. And I kind of related to the gym. It's like your muscle, your physical muscles, but this is like building your spiritual muscles in connection to who you really are beyond the mind. And so when, just like, let's say spinning, right, it takes us about 15, 20 minutes to burn calories, right, to burn fat. It's the same thing with mindfulness. When you're doing meditation, daily practice or 2-3 times a week, for the first probably 15, 20 minutes, half hour, the ego is going to be trying to trip you up. Why are you sitting there? This is boring. Then you're going to start imagining things, thinking about work, thinking about kids, all that stuff. And then all of a sudden you start settling more into presence, more into the breath, more into being into that space. And then you get a good, let's say, half hour or maybe just 15 minutes of real meditation. So that's why it's good to do it at least, an hour. I recommend for people.
Yeah, an hour. That's kind of a lot. Shoot, I don't even do an hour. You telling me I can double it?
Yeah. So doing it 10, 15 minutes a day, little increments, it's better to do that than not to do it. Because the more that you work on, mindfulness through it, I feel like a lot of people that need to really study mindfulness before they just start meditating. Because if you don't understand how your mind and your emotions and how your ego tries to trick you out of the present moment, it's kind of really hard to meditate. Yeah. So that's why I use mindfulness for meditation, for relationship coaching, for mindfulness for healing the self and healing others. It's all about being mindful.
I want to touch on the word that you just brought up. It was like 2 or 3 times. It's the word ego. Can you tell us what your definition of the word ego is?
So ego is like the separate self. It's not actually bad. Again, that's like a lesson in knowing what is real and what is an illusion, right? So that's why we see duality, where we say I'm white and you're Spanish. Like, who says that? That's like a made up word. It's just a conditioning thought, right? One minute you're sad and emotional over a past thing that happened, and then someone calls you, and then all of a sudden you're happy because you're going to the Eagles game. Like, who's doing that? Up and down and all around is just your mind, just like a ping pong going back and forth and never really in the now. So that's all that the ego does, is that it's always comparing and contrasting, whether it's comparing and contrasting your life or looking at somebody else saying, oh, that's the other. Instead of looking at someone as we're the same, your ego saying that you're the one that's causing me pain, right? Yeah. It's your own mind causing you the pain, by even if it's someone else's actions. Yeah. Because in the thoughts and you're believing the emotions that arise. So basically we're giving our power over by someone's words or by actions. Physical abuse is a little bit different. Someone doing something to me, that would be the ego. That would be blaming something for the outside of me, blaming me for my suffering on the inside.
Yeah, and I think a perfect example, and because I have experienced this before, is when I was going through everything with my first relationship. Long story short, and there was cheating involved, and I always thought that, hey, well, this person took this action. So then now, since you took that action, it's like, okay, well, maybe I'm thinking I'm not good enough, or, then you start to spiral down this thing. But you have to understand and realize, whether it's that situation or every situation, that everything that people do is a reflection of themselves. So just because a certain action is taken, it doesn't really have anything to do with you. Like, yes, it happened to you, but you don't have to believe the story that happened in there. And I bring that up not to say anything bad about it, but that to recognize that it did happen, and just in case somebody else is going through it, it's not anything. It doesn't have anything to do with you. It has everything to do with them. So if you're committing to your best self and you're making sure that everything's squared away, and you're just optimizing at your best, that's all that you can really do. And like you said, when people start to identify what has happened to them, you don't have to really tell yourself this story in order for you to, hurt yourself. And Sean, I mean, with the ego, we can talk about that for years. I mean, there's so much that can go into it, but
ego's fear. That's all. It's all fear based. And how do you? I asked you. I said, how do you know you're in your ego? Do you remember?
Yeah. By your feelings, right?
Yeah, it's how you feel. So every time you're in your mind and you feel separate or irritated, or fear comes up, or you feel angry. I mean, they are emotions that come up, but that's your ego.
Yeah. So I want to talk about, let's say if somebody is, going through their ego, and they might need, 100%. Right here, ego is fear-based, 1,000%.
Oh,
Can you talk about, maybe just 3 quick tips, or maybe basic tips that somebody can understand in order to make sure that we're not a slave to our ego and that we are in control of it?
Right. Well, I think the first part is understanding that, how do I feel inside? I mean, honestly, that's just a mindfulness practice that when you wake up in the morning, you start thinking, oh, I feel a certain way. Well, that comes and goes, right? You judge yourself, and as soon as you wake up, everyone feels groggy, but you could hold on to that feeling of feeling groggy until you get to work. So it takes you about, whatever, half hour or an hour to get to work, and you're judging yourself in this mood versus snapping yourself and being grateful. What am I grateful for today? I'm breathing. I got a job. I'm getting paid. I got a beautiful family. I'm friends. All of a sudden, your energy starts to shift. So a lot of times when we get into our mind or our ego, get out of that state is gratitude. What am I grateful for? So it snaps us out of being in the past or judging us in how we're feeling to more in feeling grateful.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's also good to, what are we identifying within our minds, right? And it's like, when things pop up in our head, is that bringing us peace? Like, we have to be mindful of that. Is this bringing us closer to love, or is it bringing us further away?
Yeah.
Tip for myself that I have to remind myself every day that, the monkey mind goes from tree to tree. And I'm like, oh, what's this about? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's an illusion. That's not right. That doesn't feel good. So that's an awareness that we can use as what am I thinking? What is this? It's like inquiring. You're acquiring and observing your thoughts about what is real and what is truth.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, when they hear the word ego, they think that it can be a bad thing, or, because there was a book title called Ego is the Enemy, and I forgot who it's written by, but that's the first thing that I think of when I hear about that.
Yeah.
You're shaking your head. Why are you shaking your head?
Because ego is not bad. It's our teacher. Because then you could get caught up in like, I'm in my ego, and beat yourself up because you're in your mind. Yeah. So you can observe that you're in your mind, and that's like, you don't need to say it's your ego. Like, it's obviously you don't feel that you feel, sadness, fear, all these things stem from the ego. You can just be aware that it's coming up. But as soon as you label it as something, you're giving the ego energy.
Okay.
So it's not bad. It's our teacher.
Yeah, and for everybody watching this, even myself, I think you just corrected me with that. Ego's not really a bad thing. But this is what I need to hear, and this is what everybody needs to hear in order to make sure that they're taking the right steps, in order to making sure that they are in control of it, and that they're living the life that they need to understand. Like, your message is that they are more than their mind as well. And
And words can be, sorry to cut you off, words can be powerful. Most people do believe everything, most of what they think. So even saying, instead of us saying control, because that's what I used to say, it's just move it to mindful, because control means to grab, or to take a hold of. Mm-hmm. So if we're just more mindful of how we're feeling and what we're thinking, it's softer. Like, it's like being mindful or chooseful of your words. Choosing your words and how you're talking to yourself, right? And how you're talking to others. Like, be slow to speak, right? So that you're coming from your heart.
Yeah.
And that's a whole mindfulness practice within itself. Just to be still, be quiet, observe people, be aware of what you're going to say before you just, start talking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big thing that people kind of do nowadays, is that they talk just for a response, but they don't talk, or they don't listen, think about what they need to say, take a second to think about what they want to say and choose the words, and really give that person, the correct not correct answer, but just an answer that they may need to hear at that point in time. And I want to talk about this too, because we only have a few minutes left. Gratitude is the attitude, 1000%. And it just doesn't sound cool. There is a meaning behind it, because, that gratitude is one of the highest emotions and feelings that you can feel. And when we have, when we think about that gratitude, we raise that vibration, and then we're able to focus on, all the good things that are in our life. And then we just go down a wonderful path. So, Sean, we always close out the show with the same question every single time. Here it is. So if somebody's watching right now, and they're in their deepest, darkest moments, and they may not see, a light at the end of the tunnel, what advice do you have to give to these people?
I think first is just to really accept what is, accept where you're at. just deeply accept and love yourself completely, because you are human. And to look at these lessons or this feeling as an opportunity to heal yourself. Ask yourself, how do I heal? How do I heal myself? How do I love myself? Maybe I need to reach out to someone, a friend, a counselor, a teacher, whatever. No one does life alone. I didn't do it alone. I woke up when I was 32. I feel like I was a little late, but like I took advantage of when it came up. I reached out and got help, which got me into this place, helping, thousands of people over the years. But just ask and you'll receive, and knock and the door will open.
That's what I'm talking about. And, I kind of want to, you corrected me about something that I said, but I want to bring up a point about what you said.
Right.
Not to be funny, but it is kind of funny.
Be funny.
But you were like, yeah, I feel like that was kind of a little late. No, it wasn't a little late, because any earlier or later, you probably wouldn't have.
You got me.
Yeah, see, there it is. Take that one. Write that in your notebook. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but no, seriously, like you just never know. It needed to happen at that point in time for a reason. And, I'm so thankful that you've taken those steps to help thousands of people, to help myself, to help the Positivity Posse, because you are doing amazing work in this world. And we didn't even begin to talk about the Qigong and the physical side of everything. Everything was just more of the abstract and the mindset with everything. So, Sean, if somebody's watching this right now and they want to reach out to you, what are some different places that they can go to reach out to you?
You can go to my website, which is SeanJonesHealing.com, which is also my business page. Or you can follow me on Instagram, which is spiritual _healer_PA. Yep,
and there it is. And then you're also for the Facebook page as well. If you are using Facebook, which you most likely are if you're watching this, you could be watching from your TV. You could be watching anywhere, because that's where we stream to. Sean, thank you so much for today, for coming on, to sharing your wisdom. This has been absolutely amazing. I'm so grateful for you, and for everybody watching right now, for the Positivity Posse. Come back next week. Here we go. Look, already, I'm telling you, I'm going to get a bunch of these right after the show. Yep. So if you hear my phone ringing, that's probably what you're going to hear, is all the great things that they have to say. So thank you so much for being here. Next week, if you can give me a half a second, I'm going to tell you the guest for next week. And it is, I believe it's Gabe. Yes, Gabe Ortiz. He's a young man who wants to get into the world of acting, and we have so many great things to talk about with his life and, his awakening and all the journeys and, blessings and struggles that he's gone through. So come back next week to experience that. Sean, thank you again for coming on. I hope everybody has a great, wonderful weekend. Remember, be mindful of the thoughts that you're thinking about, like Sean says, and, that he wants you to understand, and always understand that you are more than what your mind is as well. So if you want to go down and explore what that is, reach out to Sean and he'll be able to help you out. I hope you guys have a great, fantastic, wonderful, amazing, every positive word weekend. And I'll see you next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV, everybody. Peace.
Peace.